Greetings, Ohio Valley. This is Dan Lima with OSU Extension from Belmont County.
And this is Karen Cox from WVU Extension in Ohio County. Thanks for tuning in to Extension Calling, your source for research-based information for the farm, garden, and home.
Hello, Karen.
Hey, Dan.
Another beautiful day in a beautiful fall. Are we officially in fall? Yes, we are. Officially fall. It feels like fall weather, but then there's official dates for everything.
Yeah.
And let me see here. Autumn begins the 22nd. So happy fall.
That's right. So when we're looking out on our evenings, they're nice and cool now, which is wonderful for me because I can more readily enjoy my porch. There's not so many mosquitoes out, which is very nice. Uh, but these warm days and these cool nights, we're looking forward to our fall colors and being able to get outside more frequently. Still waiting on some rain.
Yeah, more rain. So little rain, it's good. We're still not out of it.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, and we have been doing, lots of programming on drought management and where you can get assistance if you're a farm and you're struggling with the drought, or let's say you need feed, you need a loan to get feed, reach out to your local FSA office. If you want to develop a pasture management plan so that you can better prepare for these types of challenges in the future. Some extension offices do it and some conservation districts do it. They can help you write a pasture management plan, which can help you better allocate your feeding for the time of the year and the conditions. And there's also some funding out there to help you get water out to other pastures that you don't traditionally need water in. So please reach out for help if you need it. There is help out there. And also remember, even if the help is that you want isn't there yet, there may be more help coming. So please keep good records. Recognize where you're spending extra funds, if you're buying extra feed, if you're buying extra supplements because you're stuck feeding lower quality hay. Keep in mind that you should be tracking all of that. It also goes for people who are growing vines or trees for production, crop producers as well, not just corn and soybeans, but also our various different crops that we grow. So keep records of everything. Hopefully you have records from previous years that you can compare so that you can say, hey, we produced this many bushels of green beans last year and the year before, and this year we only got this many bushels. So there's a loss shown in your record keeping. It's one of the reasons why it's so important to keep good records, because you never know when you need to prove something. So it's keeping good records is good if you have questions about what records you should be keeping or how to just improve your record keeping system. Please reach out and ask for help with that as well.
Right. This is a natural disaster, this drought. And under the disaster assistance plan, you have various types of agriculture, not just cow-calf operations, not just hay operations, but you also have nurseries in there, specialty crops, and other types of agriculture that I just can't, that isn't coming to me. So if you're impacted by it, a call to your farm service agency. It's a federal program. It's under USDA. So whether you're in West Virginia side, Ohio side, or Kentucky side, or any side,
wherever you're listening from
within the U.S. and you're impacted by the drought, chances are it'd be a good opportunity to check in with your FSA and see what you are qualified for. On that note, just passing the fall here.
Yeah, and another thing that's coming with fall and being outside more often is we're starting to notice a little bit more insect activity, some of it joyful, and we're watching the bees pull the nectar out of our fall flowers, and some less desirable.
You're right. There are insects that we like and some we do not like. And one that we do not like, we haven't talked about for a while, but it's still threatening many areas not close to home, but home, is the spotted lanternfly. We haven't talked about it in a while, but it's still around. It's still wreaking havoc.
Right, and we're starting to see the adults right now. And, as they move into the northern panhandle of West Virginia and they move into Ohio, the, eastern counties of Ohio and further, they're also spreading up to the northern edge of Pennsylvania up into New York. They're down in Maryland, Virginia, and they're starting to be spotted down in the Carolinas and as far west as Iowa. So we really need to do a better job of taking precautions against spreading these guys, especially if you are doing some traveling this time of year. So the adults are flying and they can hold on like you wouldn't believe. You get one that's crawled into your wheel well. They can hold on for, going those 70, 80 miles an hour on the highway. They're just going to hold on. They hold on to trains, and that's how they're spreading to new locations. So, because we normal people are the ones who are doing most of the traveling, we need to take some steps to make sure that we're keeping our cars clean, that if we're going through an area where there is a population of spotted lanternfly, that we are taking the time to check as we're getting to the edge of that population area. Stop at a rest area, look over your car. And Dan, I think you have a checklist, right, that we can use?
I sure do. Yes. And all the things you were saying, we're basically talking about some quarantine precautions, but I don't feel like it's that difficult, very time consuming. And I think the benefits from people checking, identifying a checklist of things that could possibly move the spotted land from one point to the other is very beneficial. So in Ohio, we have 12 counties that are under quarantine. And the ones that are in eastern Ohio, Mahoning County, Columbiana, Jefferson, and Belmont, are the four kind of bordering West Virginia and Pennsylvania. Spotted lanternfly is very prevalent in Pennsylvania. A lot of people in these areas fly out of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's heavily infested. So if you're going from a quarantine county to a non-quarantine county, what you're required to do is essentially scout potential egg mass locations like furniture and equipment, camping gear, vehicles, like Karen was saying. There's really three life stages that we're talking about. You have the adult, the nymphs, and the egg masses. The adults are pretty easy to spot. They are these bright colored insects. They have a lot of blues in their abdomen, some pink fluttery wings. They're about an inch long, so they're fairly large to see. The nymphs are much smaller. Some can be completely black with white spots. And as they get older, you see a lot of red in the nymphs as well. But one of the distinguishing things, besides it being smaller, is that it doesn't have wings. Any egg masses look like basically either putty paste. Sometimes it's whitish, sometimes it's a little pink tinge to it. And that's the covered eggs. The bare eggs look like these little, they're tan and they look like a string of tubes, and each tube is an egg. So it's like an oval shape. But basically, if you've gone camping, let's say in a quarantined area, and you've been there for a few days, you got your camp chairs, you got cookware,
Your camper.
camper, right? If you really like to not rough it. But basically these things that just sit out in the woods, right? You got an area that's infested, that has spotted lanternflies going everywhere, being very active. They could crawl in things, they could lay eggs. I see pictures here of camping chairs full of egg masses. And if you were just to fold it up, throw it in the back of your car or camper, drive it home, and then throw it like next to your house, those eggs will hatch and boom, you have just spread the infestation. So the quarantine is basically just take a look at your things, take a walk around your car, see if you find something that looks odd, whether it's the insect itself, whether it's just some egg masses that could have potentially been laid at an active time when a spotted lanternfly is laying a lot of eggs, which I think we kind of fall under that now. Most of the time, the insects can't overwinter, like we were talking about. But eggs are pretty hardy things. They typically have a protection. So, now's the time that the adults are kind of active and laying eggs. And like Karen was saying, now's the time to be outdoors and to enjoy the good weather. It just coincides that a lot of movement can happen at this time frame, as well as other time frames. But now is probably a time when you might see some egg masses that are a little bit more discreet. They're kind of harder to see. They don't move, right? So if you get some mud on things, a lot of times you might miss an egg mass spot.
I don't know, I think they're more like a splotch than a spot, you know?
A splotch, yes.
It just looks like a splotch of mud on something.
And that's the difficult part. They're hard to see, but you just have to look. I mean, all we're asking you to do is just do your best, take a look, and if everyone took that little extra precaution, if you see it, just scrape it off. If you see an adult, smash it.
But you wanna smash the eggs too, because they found that if you just scrape them and leave them on the ground, they can still be viable and they can still hatch. So you wanna smash them and scrape them. So just like take a credit card or your driver's license, whatever you have on you, just smash them up against that solid surface that they've been laid upon, and then scrape them off and
Yeah.
let them fall to the ground. And hopefully that will reduce their ability to hatch.
Yeah, and more importantly, don't move them, right? So even
Yeah,
if you forget to
yeah.
smash them, at least you're leaving them under quarantined area. You're not bringing it from Belmont, let's say, to Guernsey. Looks like Muskingum County's under quarantine, Licking County's not, Franklin County is. So they're moving. We just want to slow it down. And it poses a pretty big threat for a lot of high value agricultural products.
Right. Yeah. When you were looking at what the impact of these insects is going to be, we're looking at our nut and fruit producing trees, our grapevines, any tree that we get a product from, like let's look at maples, right? We all love maple syrup. Okay, maybe we don't all love maple syrup, but a lot of people love maple syrup. It's a very important industry. And so do spotted lanternflies. And so the more sap that the spotted lanternfly drink, the less syrup we're going to be able to get. And so it's a really important thing to start paying attention now as it is moving into those western areas, as it is moving across the state of West Virginia, to really work to contain it, because out in a woodland environment, it's very hard to find. And while it may not really impact our timber values, it is going to impact the production of our fruit trees. And, right now we still don't know a whole lot about its ability to carry anything with it. Is it going to be a vector for thousand canker disease and really impact our walnut trees? Or is it just going to reduce the sap flow and the trees are more stressed, so therefore they're more likely to attract those beetles that spread thousand canker disease. So there's a lot going on. And from the perspective of us as just regular old human beings, what can we do? Well, take that extra time when you're outside. If you see one, they're really jumpy. So if you just happen to have a pop bottle, or a Gatorade bottle is easier because it's got a larger opening. But you take that pop bottle and you put it up right behind them, and they'll just jump right back into it. So if you have a bottle with you, you can just fill it with some rubbing alcohol. Okay, let me just clarify here. You should never put a non-drinkable product inside of a drinking vessel, because you could mistake it and accidentally drink it. So make sure, if you are using a vessel that had a drinkable liquid in it, that it is very clearly marked that it is not to drink.
Do not drink.
There's a lot of problems with that, so I think I should probably just retract everything I said about that. But take a bottle, have them jump back into it, put the lid back on, shake it up, and that should knock them senseless so that they won't jump out. And then you can just drown them in some soapy water or something.
Or you could step on them.
Or you could step on them, yeah, if they don't fly away.
So the spotted lanternfly is a kind of insect called a leaf hopper. Not the best flyers,
Yeah.
But what they will do is they will tap into the tree. They do like things like tree of heaven, grapes, like Karen mentioned, hops, grapes and hops, two very high value crops there. But they'll tap into it. And as the sap flow goes up or down the tree, because they're tapped into that phloem, that sap will go through their bodies and it'll get excreted out the other end of the leaf hopper, the spotted lanternfly, and it will excrete what's called honeydew. So it's basically just partially digested sap from the tree, but it is sweet and it does have sugars in it. So the spotted lanternfly uses some and excretes a lot of it. And what does that do? That will attract ants, flies, and wasps. It'll also be colonized by a fungus and it will create what's called sooty mold, which then is a black mold that grows. Anytime you have like if you spill a sweet drink or something and you don't know you spilled it, after a while, if it gets exposed to the environment, you start getting mold growth in it because it's a source of carbon and fungus and mold like to grow on that. So you'll start to get a lot of that. Under heavy infestations, your crop will be covered in this black sooty mold, which will then attract flies, will then attract ants, wasps. It'll also decrease photosynthesis. It'll stress the plant, and it will increase the potential for other diseases, leading to a decline in grape production and hops production and many fruit production, like Karen was saying. Apple trees, peach trees are also a favorite of the spotted lanternfly. But a heavy infestation can really have a detrimental effect on specialty crops. So we're asking if you're under quarantine county, it's already here. It's always good to report it, but it's better even to try to kill it the best you can. Under certain infestation pressures, they can be very overwhelming, and you're not going to be able to get them all.
Right.
So if you can just limit their spread just through just a basic scouting before you get in your car and move, that goes a long way.
Right. And when you are going through areas that don't have a quarantine on them, it's really important that you are still reporting your sightings, especially if you go into a county where you're not sure if it's been reported or it's just beginning to be reported. It helps the agencies recognize the severity of the infestation by how many reports they get. So until they tell us not to, make sure in West Virginia that you are reporting any sighting of the spotted lanternfly to the Department of Agriculture, and you can use their email at bugbusters@wvda.us, or you can call them at 304-558-2212, and that's 304-558-2212, or bugbusters@wvda.us.
And in Ohio, especially if you're not in a quarantine county, but even if you are, you can call your extension service, so myself or Karen, or you can call the Department of Agriculture directly, the Ohio Department of Agriculture directly, 614-728-6400. So it is very important to just keep reporting it. That way they can kind of track the trajectory of the infestation, areas of high infestation, so that maybe they could do a little bit better campaigning, and letting people know how to deal with it, the importance of scouting your vehicles before you move from one quarantine area to the other. But yeah, just keep your eye out on it. They are another place that I have seen it quite a bit is at the Pittsburgh airport. So parking your car at the airport, sometimes you could be gone for weeks. Just check your car before you go home. Because if you live in outside one of these quarantine counties, but still use Pittsburgh as an airport, let's say, very easy to have those insects lay egg masses, you not notice them, you come home and there's the spread. So Pittsburgh is also under quarantine. So especially whenever you're leaving your car for a prolonged period of time in an infested area, check your car, and that'll go a long way to keep it from spreading.
Right, and know your state's rules and regulations, or if you are just passing through a state, know their rules and regulations. Pennsylvania has different rules than Maryland, and they have different rules than Virginia, which has different rules than West Virginia, which has different rules than Ohio. You get the point. Make sure you recognize the rules and quarantine guidelines for the state you are not only living in, but passing through. And that is really a difficult thing. Is like, okay, well, where do I go for information? You can go to the National Department of Agriculture website for spotted lanternfly, and it's at aphis.usda.gov. So that's aphis.usda.gov. So aphis .usda.gov, or just search spotted lanternfly and aphis, and it will take you to a website that will then help you to navigate to the areas that you will be traveling through, or where you're living. And they have a map that you can use that will direct you right to that particular state's information site and give you all of the information you need for traveling.
Yeah. Also, just be aware of things that are going to be a little bit higher risk. Like we were talking about outdoor furniture. If you're getting farm equipment from one place to another, or you're buying used farm equipment from somewhere, Karen's going to love this next one. Firewood is a big risk for this too. So if you bought some firewood, you're camping, and let's say you're camping in an infested county and you don't use it all and you bring it home, you could have potentially brought a variety of insects, but spotted lanternfly being one of them, to an area that could have not been under quarantine at all, and just been introduced. So be very careful with high risk items like that. And anytime you leave anything sitting out for multiple days in an infested area, that's a high risk item. So do a walk around. When you see something weird, look at it. If it's something that you suspect, scratch it off. If you see the spotted lanternfly, stomp on it. Hopefully, you'll at least have shoes on. That way, you don't need too much specialized equipment. But they're quick. They're quick little boogers.
Yeah, and one of the things you can do, and this is going to be helpful for all sorts of things, when you are leaving an area, and let's say you've been camping or off roading or anything like that, go and clean your car. Just go to one of those high pressure car washes and spray out your wheel wells, spray underneath your vehicle. Just use that high pressure spray and clean everything off. That's going to reduce your spreading of, let's say, seeds for plants that you don't want on your property. You could pick up Japanese stiltgrass seeds. You can pick it up knotweed seeds. You can pick up all sorts of things that you don't want to bring home, that you don't want spreading through your area. Or if you're coming from an area where those things are prevalent, and you say have a muddy driveway that you're driving down, you're picking up all of those seeds and you're taking it to your favorite camping area. So you want to take those precautions. You know, Keeping your car clean seems like something that you would do normally, but a lot of times when we're cleaning our cars, we overlook things like the undercarriage, the wheel wells, the tires, and those are places where a lot of these problems hide. And so do pay special attention to those things. Take that opportunity, spray your car off. It's not only going to prevent the spread of these invasives, but it's also going to help your car last longer. And we all need that right now, right?
I mean, of course, we always have and we always should. Now, some other outdoor household articles that are high risk here: lawn tractors and mowers, mowing decks, grills, tarps, something you laid down for a prolonged period of time. Don't necessarily look too much, don't necessarily hose down too often. Mobile homes, storage sheds, tile, stone, deck boards, fire pits, air conditioners, ladders, shutters. There's a lot of stuff we just leave out. Storm screen doors, patio furniture again, dog houses, fence, garden tools, wheelbarrows, trellises. We think about sometimes going into one of those estate auctions, where we buy a lot of these things. Think about where you are, where you're going, and I think a lot of these items that I named are kind of the high risk items in the quarantine counties, think about what you're buying. Just give it a quick look. If you can, give it a good hose down. But you could potentially track the spotted lanternfly from one area of infestation to a clean area.
That's right. And if you want more information for this local region, we do have an article on spotted lanternfly that is included in our extension calling newsletter. So if you are interested in reading more on some of the topics that we talk about, please check out the extension calling newsletter. You can just search that on Google, it'll take you right to the site. And if you're interested in listening to a past recording, do check out Extension Calling Podcast, and you can download any old program that we have done. So check us out and
Enjoy the fall.
and enjoy your fall. Hey, we just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has sent us an evaluation. That information is so very important. We are still looking for feedback from our listeners. So if there's a show that you've listened to that has really helped you, then please fill out that evaluation again and just let us know how you're using the information for the show.
Yeah, let us know how our show is helping you, whether it's a major thing, whether it's a little gold nugget you're able to get out of it. We try to mix a lot of our experiences with the show and just want to know how it helps you out.
You can fill out these evaluations as many times as you want. And also, you can use those evaluations to tell us if there's a topic that you would like us to address. So we do welcome that. And we're always looking for new ideas on things that you feel are important. So let us know what you want to learn from our show. You can find the evaluation online at https://bit.ly extension calling evaluation. And that is https://bit.ly, so that's bit.ly extension calling evaluation. And extension calling and evaluation all need to be capitalized, but those are the only caps you need to worry about. Or you can just call us at the office. You can reach me at 304-234-3673. That's 304-234-3673.
And you can also contact me at 740-695-1455. That's 740-695-1455.
Thanks for listening to Extension Calling. This show is a collaboration between OSU Belmont County Extension Educator Dan Lima and WVU Ohio County Extension Agent Karen Cox. If you'd like a transcript of this show, contact us at the office. Also, let us know if you enjoy the show by ranking us on your podcast app.